Well, g'day, I'm Ainslie. Welcome to my studio, Experientia Studio. I'm going to give you a little tour with an aspect to see the construction, the benefits of isolation and treatment to get a great sound and a great working environment. So this was all designed by my buddy Zach Marcengill, and I am more than happy to show you around. All right, let's start up. This is the entrance to my studio, and the first thing I'd like to show you is the whole studio is a room inside a room design, and you can see here there's a 2-inch rise. In that there is a whole floating floor that the whole studio is built on, and the whole shell of the studio is inside the existing house. They do not contact each other. Okay, so when my wife and I were first looking for a house that I knew I needed a studio, very hard to find the kind of space like this in downtown Franklin. When we first walked into this house, first day on the market, and I walked into this unfinished space, I knew this was the house. So here we are in the main studio, or the control room actually. And as I'm mostly a mix engineer, this was really the important room for me. The things that were important were, number one, isolation, which was the whole room in the room design provides a large amount of that so that my neighbors don't hear it, my family doesn't hear it. I run this studio, sometimes it's all night at loud levels and nobody hears anything. It's fantastic. So then the second important thing is the internal acoustics of the room, that I have a good smooth response. It's not too dead, it's not too live, it's just good balanced response. And that is achieved primarily by two things. Number one, absorption, which, as you can see, all of these panels are actually just Velcro panels that reveal absorption behind there. Zach selected all the kinds of materials to use to get a good balanced rate of absorption in the room, to absorb all the bass frequencies. These corner traps are much larger. We call them traps, that basically they trap the bass. And there's some reflection with that thing that Zach also designed for me. And the other thing about having a well-tuned room is you do save your hearing, because you're not getting excessive amounts of frequencies that are nodes that are reflecting, especially in the mid and high range, that just will take your ears out. Another aspect to get the studio great, to get both the isolation and a really quiet environment, is how the air conditioning is run. And this is where Zach's been awesome, and he's helped me or designed a duct flow system that was able to keep the airflow fairly slow but high volume. So what we have are these huge air outlets, and you can just feel the air coming out of there. There's actually a lot of air coming out, but not fast. Okay, so over here we got guitar land, as I like to call it, and the way I did this was essentially, I had limited space, but if I wanted to record a full band, I could put the drums in the vocal booth, have the vocalist in here, and have the guitarist right here. Basically, he's going to stand here. We have lines that tie into the guitar amp box. So I've actually cranked that amp a few times, and there is no significant bleed into the room from the amp. So we get great isolation between the drum or vocal booth, the guitar amp, and in this room. All right, last thing I want to talk about that I can think of right now is this isolation rack. Now, working with Zach on this was fun because this was a problem to solve. How do you get all your gear in the same room as you and not have an overwhelming roar of machines? The Mac towers make a loud noise. There's fans in every drive that spins. To give you an idea of the noise level, but there is a fantastic reduction in sound there. We've got neoprene to seal the doors. We've got a double glazed door. The neoprene goes all the way along the bottom, all around, all the edges. Now, the other thing that's going on inside that rack, because of course all that gear in an enclosed space is going to overheat. The stuff puts out so much heat. So I have bought a server cooler like a commercial server cooler that basically is a little air conditioner. And I pipe cool air into the bottom, suck the hot air out the top. It just circulates. Okay, I have unfortunately just gotten to the end of my time in this studio space because I have loved it. It's been fantastic. I'm moving for family reasons, but I would take this exact space with me if I could, because to me it's as close to perfect as I could want. I'm actually going to rebuild pretty much the same thing in the new place, very close to it, the same vibe. And Zach is going to help me with that because I love what Zach did here. He took an unusually shaped space, and I had thought about this for 3 or 4 years before I ever built it and come up with all different ideas. Zach, within 2 days, came up with a plan that was better, more symmetrical, had more thought and sense into it than it had taken me 3 years to come up with. So I was very pleased with what Zach did. I'm excited to see what we're gonna get in the new space. For me, this studio and my mixers went to another level. Helped me get this right here. So thank you, Zach.